Hi, this is Ross from SDS. Today we're going to do a short video on the CPI-2, just showing you some of the components that you get with the kit. This is the ECU, programmer, 4-cylinder coil packs, coil mounts. These bolt in place of the magnetos, and the coils bolt to here. You get spark plug wire, spark plug boots, terminals, wiring harnesses, hall sensor. This is the audio cable for the oral warnings. It's spark plug adapters, spark plugs, vacuum hose, optional battery tray, coil power harnesses. This is the flywheel drilling jig to drill the flywheel to mount the magnets. Fire sleeve for the hall sensor. This is the crank sensor mount here. Vacuum tee, so we can tee the vacuum ports here together. This is the optional vacuum block and fitting kit here. Programmer cable. I'll give you a close-up of some of the major components now. Okay, I'm just going to show you some of the parts up close here. This is the 4-cylinder coil pack. Billet mounts, and basically this goes to your old magneto hole and it bolts up like that. It's your crank sensor mount. This bolts up to here, and these attach to your crankcase through bolts just behind the propeller flange. Stainless steel standoffs. That's the optional vacuum block that can give a smoother vacuum signal to the computer. And this is the ECU or computer here, machined out of billet. Got your vacuum pickup ports here, connector for the programmer here, and wiring harnesses plug into these ports here. It's a programmer to go into the panel. Gives you access to everything you can program, gauge modes, Lena peak switch. Everything's controlled through here. It's about 2.8 by 2.8 inches. This is the optional battery tray kit. Includes all the hardware, wiring, fuses. And that's what it looks like when it's all together. So you have to buy the battery from Amazon or eBay. We don't supply that just due to shipping, but they're quite inexpensive. So now Barry's going to cover some of the basic functions of the CPI-2 here.
Okay, we'll start over at the far left end here. This is Lena peak, max manifold pressure, so Lena peak will only be active if your manifold pressure is below that setting. Of course, it's adjustable there. This is tachometer output. Got 1 pulse per rev or normal. So if your tach reads wrong, you adjust this to the other setting. That's battery charge. You can enable or disable that. Here's your selection for lithium or lead main battery. Backup battery type, same thing, lithium or lead. Magnet position, that's where the timing's calibrated. When you first run your engine, this needs to be adjusted using a timing light. That's the rev limiter, adjustable in 100 RPM increments. Values locked, that'll lock most of the common values that you might change and kind of keep things safe. There's a few values that don't get locked even when this is on. That's explained in the manual. Here you can, if the system goes off off of main power onto backup battery, it will automatically turn off the Lena peak or keep it on. Contrast and brightness, handy for adjusting the viewing angle. You might often have to change the contrast for viewing angle. At night you can adjust brightness too. You can dim it right down really dark or brighten it up. It's about in the middle right now. The system's on backup battery. Coil B can stay on or it can shut off, and when it's off, this is only on backup battery power, you can actually have programmable advance on the primary coil pack. If you keep B on, then the advance will be 0, of course, because both spark plugs are going to fire then. This Windows audio control, there's a test setting off that eliminates the audio completely, or on as normal, so if there's any faults there will be a beeping sound through your headset. Battery test, that forces the unit onto backup battery so that you can test run the engine with backup battery power. You can do that without having to turn off your main power source. You can just do it right here on the keypad. This window is used by pressing -1. You can actually shut the engine down and restore it back to running again. There's a more complicated setup with that, and that's explained in the manual. Run up it cuts coil packs, cuts the spark, sort of a mag check. That's gauge 1 screen, RPM in the top, ignition on the left, manifold pressure over on the right. This is critical voltages, your main power source voltage and your backup battery voltage on the right side. This is the programmable advance for Lena peak. So once Lena peak is activated by pressing the LOP switch, blue light turns on, and then that amount of timing would be added, and that's adjustable. And over here, RPM ignition, this is the main timing curve of the engine, so it's advancing. Here we have up to 25 degrees, of course programmable by hitting the plus and minus buttons. And over here, retard advance with load. Load is basically its reference for manifold pressure, so you can adjust, you could set, could retard at high throttle, you can also advance the timing under load too, just using plus and minus 1. Go back to the gauge screen, the prog button. This is hooked up to a dual board CPI-2, so the prog button can access both boards. That's how one programmer communicates with both computer boards. So B is lit, we're on the B computer now. Go back to the A, back to the B. So you can check all the settings on A and B. You want to make sure they all match for the most part, with the exception of the magnet position number, which will be different on the A and the B.